Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we've got a little bit of a double header to talk about because we are going to be introducing a new house I've never spoke about on the channel before. I love doing this. I love kind of getting to know new houses, exploring them with you guys. It's a great way to kind of dive in. Just pick a fragrance, wear it as your scent of the day, and see what the fragrance gives you and see what the house, shows to you. And, then just put a video out on it, talk about it with you guys, because that's a great way to kind of learn and explore. And many a times I'll do a video like this on a house I've never heard of or worn any of their scents before, and people will come back and say, yes, I've tried this, or this is another one to check out from the house. And so it just kind of snowballs, but this is very kindly sent to me by one of you, someone in the community. And you'll notice many of my early impressions are done off of little samples like this. I'm not on the full bottle train. I'm not on the full bottle YouTube free bottle train that, some of the bigger reviewers are. So I get lots of my samples from you guys, from the generosity of the community. And so I have to give a big special thank you to Nissan, who has sent me these from Canada. And this is called Monsillage Pays Dogon. And Monsillage Pays Dogon is a 2017 release. So the brand is Monsillage. The perfume is Pays Dogon. And we're going to talk about what it is, how it wears on my skin. I'm going to give you kind of an early impression. But first, I actually have two unboxings to share with you guys. I'm covering everything because there's stuff all over this box. I don't want to give away my address or the generous address of the person that sent me this. And so let's get this bad boy open, shall we? So this is some more samples. Again, speaking of generosity of the community, let me just get this open. This came all the way from England. Believe it or not, it did come from England. And usually it's very hard to get perfumes from England into the United States. So I am blessed and honored. So special shout out to Nick. Thank you, my friend, for facilitating this, for being a little fragrance mule, if you will. So let's open this up and see what sample set we are going to be able to discover next, thanks to his generosity. Very well packaged, my friend. Very well. It's a good thing my unboxing knife is sharp. Woo! This is the second time, actually, within the last week or so that I've gotten something like this that is extremely well packaged. You guys' packing skills is way better than mine. All right, let's open this up. Come on, baby. Oh, no. Aha, here we go. Okay, all right. Come to Papa. Ah, there you are. You little devil. Traveled all the way from England, did you, eh? So, here's what we have. We have Arquiste Non-Bon, which this is one that keeps popping up. I'm going to do a video on this soon, I promise. Non-Bon is an Arquiste fragrance, and I did my very first video on the brand Arquiste just a couple days ago. It's called Flor y Canto, and the perfumer was Rodrigo Flores Roux. And it was a very well-made perfume. It isn't something that I would wear. This is the one that keeps getting the hype. This is a spicy, woody fragrance, also by Rodrigo Flores Roux from 2015. So I'm gonna do a video on this soon, I promise. Thank you, Nick. And then we have a fragrance called Gentry Jockey Club by Ariza El Legrand. This is a brand I really want to kind of dive into, this Ariza El Legrand brand. They have a perfume called Chypre Mousse that is on my list. It's on my list to either blind buy or, get to sniff one day. This is a leathery, woody fragrance released in 2017. Leathers and woods, spices, that's my kind. There's ambrette in here. This sounds like it's going to be my kind of fragrance. So I'll put that on the list. And then, oh, baby. Oh, look at you. I almost want to just spray you right now and forget this whole thing. Forget this whole song and dance and just get on with this. Now, this one is called Baikal Gris. And if you know your Russian atom history, you know that Baikal Gris is named after the biggest landlocked lake in the world. I believe it's in Russia. And of course, Russian atom, giving shout out to his home country. And Baikal Gris is one of the Russian atom fragrances that I've never smelled. Came out in 2018, and it's a woody, resinous kind of ambergris fragrance. There's a lot of ambergris and fir balsam and violet leaf and stuff like that in here. So yes, I'm very excited to give that a sniff and wear it. And then we have Prin Thachilla. I think this is pronounced Thachilla. Are you guys familiar with this? Because I am actually not. Thicilla. Thachilla from 2019. Smoky and spicy, and as usual with Prin, you just get like a million ingredients thrown at you at once. Turmeric and nutmeg and civet and oud and myrrh and styrax and tuberose and spikenard and amber and kaffir lime, frankincense, vetiver, the list goes on. Huge breakdown. So I have some Prins that are kind of building up. It's another house that I need to do some more videos. And as if right on cue, Chypre Mousse by the house of Ariza El Legrand. This will be a fantastic, I think that's going to be a potential full bottle worthy fragrance for me, for what I know about the house and my love of Chypres. And that came out 10 years ago. Well, originally, I think the original Chypre Mousse came out like 100 years ago or something, but the version we have access to today is from about 10 years ago. It's a earthy, spicy green Chypre with some very interesting notes like mushrooms and roasted chestnuts and pine and stuff like that. So yes, that's exciting stuff. Thank you, Nick. Oh, there's more. There is more. Hang on. Let me get the bottom deck. There's a lot more. Sorry, it was covered up. It was covered up. Okay, so we have Prin Parfum Mogao. Mogao. I'm not familiar with many of these Prins, so I will have to do some exploration. Mogao. Let's see. M-O-G-A-O. Mogao by Prin. 2017. Smoky, spicy leather and plum and resins and frankincense, Sichuan pepper, cumin, kumquat, costus, and the list goes on. Huge note listing again. All right, excited to check that one out. We then have Slumber House Kiste, K-I-S-T-E. This is a brand I've never done a video on. Never done a video on a Slumber House, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Apparently, Kiste came out twice. I'll have to ask Nick which version this is, because originally it came out in 2015. They then re-released it last year in 2022. So I'll have to get with him and see which version Kiste he sent me. But either way, whichever one, it's exciting stuff. Slumber Houses are very hard to find. And then we have Morah by Prin, M-O-R-A-H, Morah. Another Prin I'm not really too familiar with. M-O-R-A-H, Morah Prin. 2017, spicy, woody, again, just a huge note listing. Sandalwood, ash tree, frangipani, gardenia, Indian tuberose, civet, coffee absolute, cumin, black pepper, tobacco, opium, cannonball tree blossom. I've never seen that before. Very interesting. Oh no, we had a jumper. Someone tried to get away. Don't worry, you're getting reviewed. This is Slumber House Cibet. Cibet. S-I-B-E-T. I've heard about this one. Slumber House is just one of those brands that has been Slumber House New Cibet is what I see. That came out in 2016. That must be the one. Iris, carnation, goat hair, leather, cistus, moss, and mint. Oh, I bet you I'm going to love that. That sounds amazing. And finally, last but not least, we have Slumber House. Or, O-R-E. Look at that juice color. Gorgeous. Slumber House Or. So Or came out in 2009. Woody Gourmand with cacao, oak wood, Cretan Dittany, never heard of that note before, Gaiac wood, Peru balsam, vanilla, whiskey, lactone, mahogany. Exciting stuff. All right, let me put these away so I don't lose them. Please forgive me for stopping the video mid-video to just put these away, but if I don't do it now, I will lose them or something will happen and we'll never know why the videos don't get done. So they just have to go in their little spot. And as much as I keep running through samples people sent me, more keep arriving. So again, thank you. Thank you, Nick. Seriously. Way, way too kind, my friend. Okay. All right. So now that that one's done, we actually have one more. And this one's from Armando. So Armando sent me, I know there's going to be some blind sniffing stuff in here. So, but as usual, Armando always overdoes things. Very kind, and he has been responsible for me getting to know so many new fragrances that I've never I never would have got to experience without his kindness and generosity. So big shout out to Armando and pretty much everyone in the community that's ever sent me anything. You know, it's funny because some people worry like, oh, what if I don't say good things about a fragrance? Then the houses won't send me stuff. Forget about the houses. You know, if you just be yourself and tell your truth. I've been shocked at how much people are willing to share because they just want fragrance lovers to be honest with them and tell the truth, whether that's good or bad, not to shill for the houses. And there's just not enough of that on YouTube. And so I have been shocked by just the generosity of the community. So special thank you to everyone who sent me stuff. Armando's extra generous though. So we have a bottle. And this is actually a bottle that has been on my wish list. So it's like he can read my mind. We actually have very similar tastes, him and I. And this is a bottle of this is a bottle from a brand called Aubusson. And Aubusson's a brand that gets almost no love on YouTube. But they do have one fragrance that I actually have in my collection. And it's called Aubusson Homme. And this is discontinued and prices are starting to rise of Aubusson Homme. Not the beginning, but I think the dry down starts to kind of do that Balenciaga Pour Homme thing. So I've told people before, people always ask me, I can't find Balenciaga Pour Homme or it's too expensive. What can I buy? Is there anything I can replace it with? And I always say no. There's nothing that can replace Balenciaga Pour Homme. It's irreplaceable. But if you want to get in the ballpark, check out Aubusson Homme, especially in the dry down. The first couple hours, you won't see the similarity. You're going to be like, Ramsey's lost the plot. But I promise once you get into that dry down, you will see. So this is from the same house, Aubusson, and this is called Futuros. So Futuros is one I've heard of. It's the vintage, of course. I think this might only come in vintage. And so Futuros, there's the little bottle. Beautiful. Look at that. It's actually a really beautiful bottle, and I've heard great things. Oh, I think I'm going to like this. I think I'm going to like this just from the atomizer. That's good stuff, man. Armando's an absolute gem. Good stuff. And I think this is one of those things where it's not hyped. So you can still find, sometimes vintages are getting harder and harder to find because they get hyped and people, you know, drive the prices up and then the scalpers get involved. But, you know, in a situation like this, I think you can still find these at a very reasonable price. So shout out Armando. I can't wait to wear that, man. Okay, next on the list we have what are you? What are you? It's like Christmas at Ramsey. Feromone Pour Homme. What are you? Feromone Pour Homme. Ah, La Via del Profumo. Interesting. So I did a video on La Via del Profumo just the other day, maybe like a week or two ago. And I enjoyed it. I liked his work. So this is one that he did called Feromone. And go watch my La Via del Profumo video if you kind of want to know more. But Feromone pour Homme, an animalic sweet fragrance. Oh, I think I'm gonna like this one. Castoreum, sandalwood, ambergris, bergamot, iris, lavender, oak moss, patchouli, and pipe tobacco. That sounds right up my alley. Feromone pour Homme. That's good stuff. So the one that I actually did a video on was called Tabak. So if you want to look up the one that I did the video on, it's called Tabak. And it was a very good fragrance. I wouldn't run out and go buy it, but I'm excited to give these away. That's good stuff, man. I feel there's so much more still in this box too. Like, I feel not worthy. You know what I mean? I hope sharing this with you guys is, you know, brings light to some of these fragrances at least, especially some of these discontinued gems that people like me and Armando love. Like, just smelling it from the atomizer, I'm sure this will be right up my alley. And then we have, so there's going to be some blind sniffs in here too. So one of the point of sending this to me is there's going to be some blind, okay, so here's the blind sniffs, and here's the key. So this will make for a very fun live stream. We've done this before. I'll make sure to hit you up, Armando, before we begin, whenever that day comes. Probably going to be a little while in the future, since on Wednesday we actually have a very special guest. Look at that. That's kind of cool. From that La Via del Profumo box. He goes by Abdal Salamatar, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what he goes by. And so we have a very special guest called Mark Sage on Wednesday, March 8th. Mark Sage, who owns Clandestine Laboratories, is going to join us. I planned on starting around 4. We might have to start at about 4:30 or so, because I have a meeting that I wasn't planning on. But around 4 to 4:30 Central Standard Time we'll begin, hopefully. And then, you know, I hope you guys can join. And so with that coming up and preparing for that, you know, it'll probably be a little while before we get to the blind sniffs, but when we do, it'll be very, very fun. Okay, let's see what else is in here. Man, this is like Christmas for Ram. I've been a very good boy. Ah, I've heard of this. Monsieur Houbigant. Musk. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that packaging. How badass is that? Blended in the USA. Fuck the good old days, man. I mean, even this smells absolutely amazing from the atomizer, from the bottle. Houbigant Musk. And that is why I love vintage fragrances, stuff like that. And Futuros even, you know. There's just so much out there that's so good. And every time I find something new, you know, many times I feel like I can almost like blind buy vintage fragrances because I kind of know my taste, right? And I've heard of this. I've never smelled it though. So this is a Jean Dessès perfume. I think that's how you pronounce it. Jean Dessès. Desses. And it's called Gymkana from 1964. Gymkana. Discontinued, of course, but it's a leather. I think he knows I love leathers. So it's a leather, oak moss, and woody notes. All right. That's good stuff, man. What have I done to deserve this? And finally, we have one more. Beautifully packaged. What are you? I was actually going to buy this, dude. You know what's crazy? I was literally going to buy this. I swear. He must have access to my eBay account. I think he's been monitoring my, what I have liked on there. So this is LM Hard Leather. I literally almost bought this off of somebody. Thank you, man. That's awesome. You know me well. You know me well, brother. You know me well. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you is not enough, but thank you. Honestly, I feel like I'm blushing, like I don't deserve it, but I really do appreciate it, man. Okay, so let's talk about, and we'll get into these, we'll dive into them, you know, I'll do videos on them at some point once I get to know them and all that good stuff. But today, we're going to talk about a fragrance that Nissan sent me. And again, this is from the house of Monsillage, which is a brand I want to read you a little bit about because I've never heard of them before. Apparently, it's run by it is run by a woman who is the owner and the perfumer, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's correct. Her name is Isabelle McCowd. Isabelle McCowd. And here's what on her website, Monsillage.com, here's what it says about her. It says, "It is early in life that Isabelle began her love affair with perfumes and all things scented and nicely packaged. Although it is a bit of a mystery why she is so interested by scent, it probably has something to do with her sensitive, intuitive, and perceptive nature. But as strong as this liking for perfume was, living in Canada, and they are a Canadian brand if I'm not mistaken, far away from the epicenter of perfumery made it almost impossible for her to imagine that a career could result from it. The thought actually never crossed her mind. Well, unaware at the time, Isabelle then began a journey that would be at the heart of her project, the accumulation of an amazing wealth of experiences through travels, crazy adventures, wonderful distractions, and lots of soul-searching, from which she would later gather the inspiration for her perfumes and from which would emerge the Monsiage brand. What glued these diverse experiences together was her love of life and all that it had to offer. With so many things to see and do, how could she ever settle for just one? She thus decided to live life to its fullest and dabble in many things. She fled, as much as she could, the chains of monotony and stability for the wings of freedom that bring such elevation, lightheartedness, and perspective and hope. Many years later, unsatisfied professionally and feeling the weight of a grounded existence, Isabelle decided to do a bit of soul-searching to recapture the essence of who she was. She naturally turned to her youth and her love of perfume and re-embarked on her perfumed journey. This road led her to Versailles in France, where she attended the renowned ISI PCA Perfume Institute, a necessary stop for acquiring the perfume savoir-faire that would allow her to bring to life the project that was slowly taking shape in her head. Monsiage was born 2 years later, the result of somewhat disorienting life path that has achieved, much like a spinning top, surprising balance. Perfumed memoirs gathered left and right along a winding road, the proof that not all who wander are lost. And their little, their little slogan, if you will, is like 3 birds in a row, looking like they're kind of flying away. Very interesting. I love learning about these new brands. And let me read you what they have to say about Pays Dogon. So Pays Dogon, again, came out in 2017. And it says, travel memories, like treasure troves of the mind, require very little to seep back into our lives. A rhythm, a color, a smell, a taste, an emotion. I can see myself standing there, browsing the outdoor market at the base of the cliff, admiring the beauty of the women wearing the striped indigo loincloths that tell of their marital status. I can taste the tart yet sweet red hibiscus flower beverage. I can smell the captive humidity of the arid soil, the exotic wood carvings of a sculpture, the stretched leather of a djembe drum. Such are the olfactive memories that embodies Pays Dogon. Textured, raw, and authentic. So, the notes according to the brand are green orris, black pepper, pink peppercorn, ginger in the top, middle of hibiscus flower, base of guaiac wood, cypriol, sandalwood, patchouli, Javanese vetiver, and dates. So, basically what you get when you very first spray, the first thing that kind of hits your nose with Pays Dogon, and I have a fresh spray here, and I have like a 6.5 hour dry down here. So I've gotten a good feel for the fragrance. This is my first full wear though. It's definitely a wood and spice dominated fragrance, but upon first application, the wood comes across to me smelling very metallic, okay? And that metallic feeling, the first thing I thought of, it just popped into my head, was ISOE Super. I couldn't help but think it just popped in there. As soon as I smelled the woody note that hit my nose, I thought this ISOE Super, which there's nothing wrong with ISOE Super. I don't mind, I don't mind the addition of synthetics. And this has this, along with ISOE Super, it really feels like there's an extra push. Maybe there's some ambroxan or something behind it to kind of give it a little bit of oomph, because even into the dry down, I've been kind of smelling it periodically wafting off of me. There's almost zero reviews of this on the internet. Like, I think there's one. And I've never heard of the person who did the review. No offense to him. I've never heard of him or his YouTube channel before, but there's one review on it. And so it's kind of basically a ghost. This brand is never talked about. I never hear anyone talk about this brand. So they're kind of under the radar. But even with that, a bit heavy ISOE Super, maybe a feeling of a little ambroxan underneath to give it a little bit of push, give the woody note a little bit of push. There is this earthy note that starts to come through. And there's a couple things in this fragrance. So you're going to get Cypriol. I don't know if she did list Cypriol. So Cypriol is listed. And if you've ever smelled Cypriol, it can give off this resinous, earthy vibe. And what ends up happening with this fragrance is that metallic, sharp twang opening, almost like a earthy opening of Terre Hermes or something like that, minus the orangey, top that Jean-Claude Atlanta does so well. But just imagine that Terre Hermes woody kind of Timbuktu woody style opening, if you will. That's kind of the metallic note that I'm kind of seeing in my head, right, with the ISOE Super. But where this fragrance really starts to, but that doesn't last long. What's interesting is because 5 to 10 minutes in, it really starts to turn. And it starts to turn into the fragrance that it ends up becoming. And I like what it ends up becoming. It is only $120 for 50 ml. So it is a niche house, out and out. That's all they do, I think, is perfumes. Maybe some other small things like candles. But this is a pure niche house, if you will. And so what ends up happening about 10 to 15 minutes in is the fragrance kind of turns into what it basically smells like for most of the duration of the wearing, which is this mixture of this earthy metallic, Cypriol, not metallic. The metallic note tends to go away in the opening. And that Cypriol ends up blending with Java vetiver, which into the dry down turns really quite nice. And there is this hibiscus flower. She alluded to it in the little write-up. So there's this hibiscus flower, which interestingly enough is typically an odorless flower. And the hibiscus flower has certain types of species which are not odorless. There's a species called Hibiscus aeronitaneus that have apparently fragrant flowers, but most of the hibiscus flowers are mute. It's a mute flower. It's a beautiful flower, but it's usually a mute flower. And, some say that adding hibiscus flower to a creation can almost give off this pure air freshness, if you will. Others say that once you get the essential oil, kind of concentrated, and it becomes much more concentrated, that it gives off some of the flowery touches, like this tropical, slight contrast between, say, sweet and tart. There's this like contrast between the sweet and tart. And I get some of that. I get this contrast between this slightly sweet feel of hibiscus flower versus the very tart, earthy, Cypriol, Java, vetiver with the woods. This is a woody fragrance through and through, I would say. Spicy woody is kind of the vibe. And along with that metallic opening, what you're going to also notice is the pepper. And she said black pepper and pink peppercorn. And I completely get that. There is this peppery hit along with the woods and ginger. And ginger gives it this kind of sprightly freshness. So along with that metallic little bit in the opening, you're hit with a lot of other things. But my nose just in the opening continually goes back to that metallic bit. But the best part of the fragrance is after that starts to dry down and you begin to get more and more of this beautiful Java vetiver cypriol combination, which I really like, mixing with the woods, because that ISOE Super is kind of like a prelude. It kind of like gives you kind of a preview of what's to come, if you will, because it dries down to a beautiful combination of Gaiac wood and sandalwood. And so usually ISOE Super, I feel like, is used more with the woody notes, you know, like cedar, for example, is usually what ISOE Super is made to represent, right? And here it dries down into more of this Gaiac wood with sandalwood and a little bit of patchouli. But to me, the star of the show is the Java vetiver and the cypriol. Now, interestingly enough, going back to hibiscus, there is a extract from hibiscus seeds. And so if you ever see hibiscus seeds in a perfume, like for example, this fragrance lists hibiscus seeds on some websites. This is Guerlain's L'Instant de Guerlain, right? This has a little bit of a hibiscus seed feeling. And what hibiscus seeds are is they're actually ambrette. So if you've ever heard the word ambrette before, ambrette is the seeds of the hibiscus that they make into ambrette, which is a beautiful substitute for musk. I love the smell of ambrette. If you've ever smelled, you know, Dior Homme, they use this beautiful ambrette, iris, cacao type combination. Blended with the iris is absolutely beautiful. But here, she doesn't say hibiscus seed, which is usually what's used in a fragrance. She says hibiscus flower. And there's not many fragrances that have this hibiscus flower note, if you will. It's a note that's very rarely used because the flower, I think, is mute, like I said. And so because of that, you just don't see it used very often. But I am getting this, you know, what you would expect the hibiscus flower to smell like, this tropical, floral, tart. I am getting a little bit of that here. And maybe it's the power of association, knowing that it's in there, and then you start to kind of smell it. But I like what it's turning into. The cypriol and Java vetiver kind of continues to give it this earthy, smoky feeling. And I recently reviewed a fragrance, interestingly enough, from the house of Mayo Fusioni called Spirito. And Spirito, I called it kind of a vetiver perfume. If somebody wants a fragrance that kind of dries down feeling like a vetiver fragrance, but it's more than just an out-and-out vetiver, like you don't want to wear Guerlain's vetiver or Roja's vetiver or Frederic Maule's vetiver extraordinaire. You know, there's like a vetiver heavy fragrance, but you want vetiver to play a pretty prominent role. Spirito would be a good one for you to check out. And I would actually add this Pays Dogon to the list because to me, I get a lot of vetiver in the dry down. In fact, so much so that it started reminding me of a fragrance that I like enough to have a full bottle. I really enjoy this. This one's called Incident Diplomatique by Jovoy. If you've ever smelled some of these Jovoy fragrances, you know they're extremely high quality. And this is an amazing take on vetiver. There's multiple types of vetiver in here. Yeah, and the Java vetiver in Incident Diplomatique is actually the star of the vetiver trio in Incident Diplomatique to me. And so you will be reminded. It also, interestingly enough, I always find that whenever I find, you know, connections to fragrances, sometimes when I'll think of something, like when I thought of Incident Diplomatique, when I smelled Pays Dogon for the very first time, I looked it up and of course I was pleasantly surprised to find out that both of these fragrances were made in 2017. That happens more than you think. Not 2017, but that the fragrance that I get reminded of was made in the exact same year. And I don't know if it's just, you know, style of the times, if it's happenstance, if, you know, the big oil houses are sending out certain ingredients that are popular that year and the houses are kind of using them, or what the connection is. But you'd be surprised how many times I'd smell something for the very first time and it would remind me of another fragrance. Then I'd go look it up and see, oh, they were both actually made in the exact same year. And that's what happened with Incident Diplomatique. It's a woody, spicy, and look at the note listing: mandarin orange, Haitian vetiver, Java vetiver, nutmeg, patchouli, and sandalwood for Incident Diplomatique. And so for me, since I already own this, there's no reason for me to go buy a bottle of this. Now, if you don't own Incident Diplomatique and you're looking for kind of a woody, spicy, you know, earthy vetiver fragrance, obviously there's some things in Pays Dogon that are not listed in Incident Diplomatique. So the hibiscus flower is not listed there. The cypriol is not listed there. But I have an entire video on cypriol if you really want to go check it out and see what cypriol is all about, what it smells like, the Nagamatha. And to me, I don't get very much of that. It's there, but it's kind of it's a note that recedes kind of into the background. She was talking about being on vacation and travel memories and you know, browsing the outdoor market and admiring the beauty of the women wearing their striped indigo loincloths from afar. And that's kind of how the cypriol feels. It feels like it's kind of more as an observer. It's in the background observing. It's not playing an active part, a huge part anyways. For me, it's more about the vetiver, the combination of the woods and the spices. And it's a beautiful fragrance. It's easy to wear. This could be a dumb reach, if you want to call it that. You know, if your collection is newer and just starting and you want a fragrance like this in your collection, this could be one to begin with, because 120 bucks is not that bad nowadays. It seems like now all I've been seeing in the fragrance world is $200, $300, $400, $500. You know, that seems to be kind of the go-to now. Even like I was testing some memos on my live stream, Memo Paris, for the very first time. I was shocked they had $400 bottles. I couldn't believe it. You know, the prices of the fragrances are out of this are out of this world nowadays. And so something like this, it's sad to say $120 seems fair, you know, like a pretty good price for 50 mils, but it does seem like it's very fairly priced, and the quality seems pretty good. Doesn't blow me away or anything, but I enjoy the blend. I like it, and you know, it's not something that I would go hunt down and buy, but it's a house that I'm gonna kind of put on the radar as, you know, maybe one that I'd like to smell some more from. So in a nutshell, good, not great. This would make a good, I think, like you know, when I said daily driver, I was thinking like work, you know. It's pissing down rain, you don't know what to grab, so you just kind of grab this and go, throw it in your bag and go. That kind of fragrance, you know. It doesn't have to be rain, but that was like the image, like, you know, you're late for work and you don't want to think about things and you just want to grab something and go. And this could be one of those easy, you don't have to think about it. You can just spray it on and wear it and smell good and enjoy it and stuff like that. So it's been fun getting to know the house of Monsillage. I like the idea. I would like to smell more from her. And so first of all, before we go, I have to give a special thank you again to Nick for the beautiful samples, and Armando for being way over generous as usual. I can't wait to do the blind sniffing with you guys. That's going to be so much fun. I love these blind sniffing episodes. It's actually one of my favorite ways to test perfume, is to do it blind. You just remove all of the BS. You remove all the marketing. You remove all of the, you know, imagery from the blurbs and your pre-association with the brand. Even if you don't read the marketing, sometimes even if you know what brand it is, you'll have ideas of that brand already kind of made up in your mind. So the blind sniff stuff, I think is one of my favorite ways to test fragrances, because it just takes all of that and pushes it aside. And all you're doing is smelling the perfume, and you're giving it like a clean slate, if you will. So shout out to Armando for taking the time to do this. These blind sniffs are always fun. And then, of course, multiple beautiful full bottles, basically, for me to get to know that I've never smelled before. So just amazing stuff, and I can't wait to dip into some of these samples. So thank you to everyone who sent me something in the past. If you've sent me something and I have not gotten to it yet, I promise I will. It's just a matter of when. It could be tomorrow, could be a year or two from tomorrow, but I promise I will get to everyone who sent me something. We'll get to it at some point. So thanks again for watching. If you know the house of Monsillage, or if you know Pays Dogon in particular, do let me know. If there's any of these that you're kind of excited to hear about, let me know. And I look forward to seeing your faces and comments in the video, in the comments below. Like the video if you can before you leave, if you're into that kind of stuff. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers. Bye, guys.